From County College of Morris, this is CCM All Access.
Hello, and welcome to CCM All Access, the show that brings you news and information from the County College of Morris, students at CCM, members of the community, people doing good things. I'm Brenda Todd, and our guest today is Dr. Margaret Ball, who is the Dean of Liberal Arts here at CCM. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us about the liberal arts majors here at CCM.
Well, the School of Liberal Arts covers a lot of different majors and courses, course areas. So we have psychology, sociology, history, political science, economics, music, musical theater, music technology, and English. Did I get history in there? Maybe I did.
History,
anyway, it's a
wide umbrella.
Very wide.
So what is the idea behind liberal arts, and why is it such a large umbrella?
Well, originally in ancient Greece, when universities were first being formed in medieval times, they looked at what they called the liberal arts were what free people studied.
Okay.
What the free people, and the free people were the elites.
Right.
These were the people who were going to be in government or the ruling class. These were the skills or the courses of study that these people were allowed to study. The poor weren't allowed to study the arts. So eventually it went into social sciences, natural sciences, and the arts and humanities. And that's what we think of as the liberal arts today. Each university and college changes that slightly depending on how they are formed and how they are structured. So here at CCM, we don't have as many of the sciences within the liberal arts, but you can at some schools.
Now, why is that? Why do we not have the sciences here?
Well, at a community college, you tend to be a little more workforce-driven, and so I think some of the organization has been done around those areas. We have a large health school here, so that includes nursing, so many of the sciences come under that. Then we have a business and engineering area, and again, some of the sciences come under that area as well. So then everything else would be within the liberal arts.
So then a community college is really unique in that sense?
Yeah, it can be. At universities, you tend to have what are called professional schools. So engineering would be in the professional school. Law might be considered a professional school. Those are degrees you are taking, and you are going to do this profession once you get out. And at community colleges, you can have that as well, even more so.
So what are some of the unique challenges that come with a community college and being the dean of liberal arts at a community college?
Well, it's really exciting for me because I have grown up in a family that really appreciates all areas of the arts and sciences. My father was an engineer, and one of my brothers was a history major and then went into law. My mother was a piano teacher, but she'd taken science in university. I have another brother who's a designer, and then a sister who started in theater, was an artistic director, and then went into politics. So I feel like I grew up in this family of liberal arts in some way. So I understand the importance of them and the skills, all the various skills you need to be successful in any career you learn in the liberal arts, whether it be how to write a paper, how to do research, how to do analysis. Those are the things you learn in English, in history, in sociology, in psychology. That's where you learn how to do those things. In things like music and theater and art and design, those are also important aspects to creativity that everybody needs to be introduced to. my favorite story about Steve Jobs is his favorite course, or his most important course that he thought, was not a computer course. It was a course in art and design.
Right.
In particular, I think about letter formation. And that was what he considered one of his most important classes.
Well, I was just going to say, so then really the vision that CCM has, or the vision behind, or the idea behind a liberal arts degree, or teaching liberal arts as general education, the importance of that is what? What could you tell me
Well,
that?
you know, the term general education, I think, is a misnomer. It doesn't give the liberal arts the importance that it needs. When we say general education, students will come in, or people will come in and go, general ed, what is that?
Right.
And it really, I think, we talk about essential skills,
Okay.
and we learn those in the liberal arts. And one of the professors here sent an article to me last week about how, instead of even talking about the liberal arts as essential skills, why don't we talk about them as universal skills?
Sure.
So if you say to a student, you are taking a course that is essential to you, this is a universal skill, that's a very different description than here's a general course.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I think we need to do a better job on how we describe the liberal arts and how we explain the importance of it. Sometimes we are given this bad rap that we really are just staring at our navels and painting pictures, but that is not what we do at all. We really are teaching those universal skills that everybody needs in every kind of job.
Right.
You know, communication is a really important skill, and we have this great communication department here, and that's where you learn how to give a speech, how to stand up and talk in front of people. And this is something every businessman needs, every politician needs, every teacher needs. And having those skills, being able to tell your story. And even a business person needs to be able to tell a story. That's what you are doing when you are selling something to somebody, or explaining a new idea or a new invention. It's you are telling a story. And I really believe that it's in the liberal arts that you learn how to do that.
It's interesting because I always thought everyone should take an acting class, and everyone should take a singing class.
Yeah.
I know you were a voice teacher.
Yes.
And a theater professor.
Yes.
And a director.
Yes.
But I've always felt that, because you need that in every aspect of your life. And people will shy away from that and say, oh, what's the point of this? Or why are they making me take even an art class or something like that? But yes, that sense of a well-rounded education.
And another important thing that happens in college, if you are part of a musical ensemble or a performance club, you find your community, you find a home. Even if you are a biology major, you can still be part of a musical theater club. And those people tend to really create this club that keeps you going, that gives you a family away from home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You also develop an appreciation for these things.
Yes.
Until you study art, you might look at a piece of art and say, I could have done that, right?
I really feel that a person's education is complete in some ways if you leave a degree and you can say what your favorite piece of music is. If you can say who your favorite poem was written by. If you can say, you know, what is your favorite novel? If you can say, oh, this historian or this part of history really interested me because of these things. I think too often we're too busy trying to get through things, you know, whether it's complete an exam or rather than trying to find out what ignites our passion.
Right.
And that's something we found with student success, and that's something that I've gotten very interested in over the last decade. What makes a student successful? And a lot of the discussion these days is around terms grit and perseverance and having a growth mindset, being able to figure out what what goes wrong and how to fix it and how you are going to fix it.
Absolutely.
You know, the next time you go ahead. And part of having that grit and perseverance is also having that passion for something.
Sure.
You know, you're not going to continue doing something unless you have that passion.
Absolutely. So this exposes you to a wide range of subjects that you might find you have a passion for.
Passion for, exactly. And that's why I think that liberal arts degree even that we have here is so important. If you come and you're not quite sure what you want to do.
Absolutely.
You know, is it psychology or sociology? Is it journalism? Is it communication?
Absolutely.
Is it music technology? Is, you know, what is it? You get to try these things and find what you are passionate about.
Yes.
Because if you find something you're passionate about and good at, you are going to have a career.
Right. And it also helps you give voice to those things that you're passionate about.
Yes. And that you are going to have on the side if you choose to do something else.
Absolutely.
You know, that's when we talk about having a full life.
Right.
You know, if then I often say to students, you may not be interested in theater, but what happens when your 16-year-old child comes home and says, Mom, Dad, I want to be in a show. I want to be an actor. You'll have a sense of what that means, the discipline that is needed in those positions.
Now, I've noticed that civics is something that is not really specifically identified in the curriculum right now. And of course, when we're looking at students, young people who are thinking about voting, some of them don't seem to really have the knowledge or the skills about politics. And how do you think that we teach basic civics?
I think it could be increased. I think we do in some history courses and in some sociology courses, but I think it's something that could be brought out more. And I think over the last few years, because of sort of the division in politics, this polarization that we've seen, people are scared to have conversations. I think one of the things we've lost is that ability to have a conversation, particularly about difficult topics. So I see students, instead of having a difficult conversation, just not having a conversation.
Yes, that's a very important
And
point,
also we've relied more and more on social media, so we tend to develop these little communities that tell our own story, but we don't get interested in anybody else's point of view or story. So I think that's part of it as well.
Sure.
And I think it's something as educators and as society we are going to have to adjust. You know, anytime you get a new form of technology, we have to adjust to it. We did to the radio, we did to TV. So I think that's what we're in now, this period of how are we going to change this, because we can't stay as we are. We're losing skills, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. I want to get back to that. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment.
I'm Andrea Lucia, a graduate of County College of Morris. At CCM, I gained a high-quality education, was involved with clubs on campus, and performed university research in tissue engineering. My CCM education prepared me for ongoing success. Today, I am at Cornell University, studying engineering and performing research in cardiac tissue engineering. The professors and staff at CCM helped me to start right and finish strong.
And we're back on CCM All Access. I'm Brenda Todd, and we're here with Dr. Margaret Ball. We were talking a little bit about, first of all, you've only been here for 6 weeks.
Yes,
is that right?
6 weeks.
Yes. So what has been your experience kind of coming in, and who are some of the students you've met and some of those?
Well, the students have been incredibly welcoming to me. My first week here, it was first week of classes, so students were coming in to do course changes and things like that, and so the dean's office was helping with that kind of thing. And then the student government leaders have welcomed me, and they sort of made an attempt that first week to come and introduce themselves to me. I get to talk to students when I go and, you know, sit in events and talk to them, sort of whoever's sitting on either side of me. I spoke to a gentleman the other day who is in sound recording. He's retired, and he's just loving the chance to, at this age, be able to learn new skills and sort of foster this passion he's had. So I'm getting to meet some students who are coming back to work or to school after having worked, students with children at home. You know, so that's what's so exciting at a community college is you get this wide range, and you really feel like we are supporting you in what you want to do with your life.
Yes. So if a student is having issues, they come to see you. Is that right? And what kind of issues do you address?
Well, first of all, if a student's having issues, we always say, well, go talk to your professor first. And then if it doesn't work out with the professor, then we say, well, talk to the department chair. And then if it doesn't work with the department chair, then they come to see me. And sometimes it can be, you know, something very minor, or they couldn't find their faculty, or maybe they're not sure about some kind of rule that you know the university has, and could I, you know, explain it to them. So those are the kind of things that we see. Or there's a class they need, can they do it as an independent study, things like that.
Maybe they're changing majors or something like that.
And again, that's some of the time I like best with students, when I get to talk to them about, what do you want to do? What are you interested in? Particularly if they're, you know, unhappy with what they're doing. Where can we get you focused? Sometimes it will be in a totally different field. So, And so how do we give students experiential knowledge here? What are some of the ways that we provide in many areas on campus, right here in the studio, I know you have a lot of students get a chance.
Absolutely. This is a perfect example.
And we have this stunning music technology building. And so students get to, you know, learn all the technology there. The students in the musical theater productions get a chance to put musicals, full stage musicals together. Then all the instrumentalists get a chance, and they also get a chance to work with the students in recording. So that's really a nice relationship there. The students who are in art and design, you get to, if you just walk down the halls and see the studios, you get to see them either in ceramics or building, designing and building clothes, those kind of things. So there's a lot happening.
So, as we said, you've been here for just a few weeks.
Right.
Where did you come from? Where were you?
I was at East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania. I'd been the chair of theater and did a lot of teaching of voice there. I also was interim associate dean of arts and sciences there.
So, you were a voice teacher. And what... I know I took singing, and to me it was just a wonderful experience because it really gave me confidence to do all kinds of things. I didn't expect that. I think that if you can get up and sing in front of people, you can do a lot of things. Like, that's a big fear that people have. And so how was it being a voice teacher? You taught at school, so some students were not necessarily singers.
A lot of my students weren't singers, or they started out, they had very little background. And again, sometimes it's getting people so they can sing in a choir. So this is something that they might do outside of school, you know, for the rest of their lives, whether it be in church or a community choir or in the community musical, you know. There are a lot of different ways you can apply that kind of work. Also, but I worked with a lot of students who went on to professional careers too. I also got very interested in the work between speech, working on someone's spoken voice, and also their singing voice. I got a chance to work with a lot of singers who had damaged their voices. And it was really interesting work because when I first started it, I assumed a lot of that damage had come from their singing technique. And as I studied it, you get to see it really goes back to their speaking voice, a lot of it. So I found that very interesting.
So you can damage your singing voice by
how you speak,
abusing your
speaking voice.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so it'll show up in your singing voice.
Yes. Do you miss teaching?
Yes, but it was time for a change.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
I've taught a lot, and I will teach again someday, I'm sure. But I'm really enjoying the work I'm getting to do now. You have such fabulous faculty here and students, and I'm getting to meet them all, and I'm being kept very busy, so it's a great time.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, you started off at community college yourself, right?
Yes, I did. When I left high school, I worked in the theater, in the professional theater. I became a stage manager. I interned. And then after a few years of that, I thought I want to do something else. I'd always performed as a in school and in high school, and I thought, well, let's go give classical music a chance.
Sure.
And I started at the community college in Vancouver Community College, where I grew up, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. It was, again, my experience there was so good. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to come and work here, because I really believe in what the community college can provide for someone. At the time, it gave me smaller classes compared to the university, you know, where you can get really big classes. And here, like I experienced, you have smaller classes, great faculty, and it was just an incredible experience for me.
Yeah, and then you moved on to a four-year college?
Yes, I did. I transferred to University of Toronto, which was a big school.
Yes.
And so it was a bit of a culture shock for me to go from this, you know, small school where we, again, great students, many have gone on to international careers, but you didn't know your faculty as well.
Sure. But probably did the two-year college kind of help you make a transition?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
it prepared.
From high school
Yeah,
or something like that.
definitely.
Yes.
I often say I had an incredible theory teacher in undergraduate, and I used his notes right all the way through, even into graduate school when I was doing my final exams there. When I had to go back and review, I'd go back and look at his notes. I had great history teachers there and a fabulous voice teacher who just set me on the road to where I got to go.
Oh, that's great. And then you got your master's later.
Yes, I spent some time in Toronto at the Canadian Opera Company in their chorus. I sang professionally for a couple of years, and I also did a master's at McGill University in Montreal, and again, that was a lot of great performing, and also got into research there. So.
Oh, very good. Now, I did see something about opera.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
I always loved opera. I was lucky as a kid, and sometimes I'm not quite sure where it came from, but my parents would go to the opera, and I used to sing around the house to the radio when the opera was on the radio.
How about that?
And they used to take me to the opera. I used to beg them, please take me to the opera. So I think it was actually the going out for dinner after maybe the opera that attracted me as a kid.
Yes.
But
Quite an event.
Yeah, it was. I just felt like so grown up,
Yes.
and so that's where it started. And anytime when I was in university, anytime I could either take the train down to visit friends, or in New York, we'd go to the opera. Toronto had a great opera too. Montreal had an opera company. So it's one of the things I like, being so close to the city now.
Absolutely.
I can get in.
So you take advantage of that.
Yeah,
then?
and Broadway shows.
Sure.
Yeah,
of
musicals,
course.
my other passion.
Of course.
So
where do you see yourself going after this?
well, I'm really excited to be here
Yes.
and see how I love being able to advocate for the liberal arts
Yes.
and the arts. I'm looking forward to, you know, growing the college even more, and there's so many exciting things happening in education right now. We're talking about certificates.
Sure.
So that could be we talk about a stackable certificate. So if somebody's interested in a degree, but they're not sure if this is where they want to go, they can come and do sort of 12 credits in one area.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so we're just developing some of those right now. And then if they like it, they can take even more and sort of go out to their associates, you know, develop their associates. Or they can take that certificate and use it in the workforce. So those are some of the things we're looking at right now in liberal arts.
So community colleges, you have to have these transferable credits,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that puts a certain pressure on a community college,
Yeah.
maybe because you know that you have to have a pretty stringent, what am I trying to say? You have to be
You have to have a path.
academically, exactly. You
Yeah.
have to be academically, you have to be able to transfer these
Mm-hmm.
credits. And so how does CCM prepare for that?
Well, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about being here is you have such standards, and that students
Yes.
here really transfer to some of the finest universities in the country. And it's one of the things that both the faculty and the administration are so good at, about maintaining these standards, but also helping students find the supports they need to get to that,
Right.
that level.
And oftentimes you might apply to a four-year college and not get in, and then you could take 2 years here,
Right.
and then you would get in.
Yeah.
You know, you do well here.
And we have great transfer office here who will help students, you know, find the school that they could transfer to, that what school will take your credits. We have some agreements with schools that even if you don't finish off everything here,
Right.
if you go to the transfer, they will transfer those credits back so you can actually
Right. Oh,
complete
wow.
that,
That is wonderful.
yeah, associates.
That's terrific.
So we have many great relationships with
Yes.
various universities
Yes.
and programs.
Well, very good. So wonderful to have you on board.
Well, thank
you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you about all of these things.
Well, this has been another edition of CCM All Access. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.